Welcome to Lotus Health Education and Wellness Empowerment through Health Enlightenment. We're continuing the videos in our series on cardiovascular health by starting off our advanced lipid panel. Because of how much information is involved with this topic, we're going to be breaking it into a number of videos to give you information in a way that you can take in and find the most usable. Today, we'll be looking a little bit at what's happening in our heart, and particularly with the blood vessels that leads up to this test needing to be done, and in many cases being extremely beneficial. In subsequent videos, we'll jump into the actual advanced lipid panel itself and look at the different components and what they do. In the end, we are going to be releasing one comprehensive video with all of the information all together in one. I will apologize in advance that it's going to probably be a little bit on the long side, but you should find it very informative and helpful. So before we start today's video, we want to just remind you to make sure that you give it a like and subscribe if you're not already following our content, so you can get more of our great videos as they get posted. And for you to keep in mind that while we appreciate the trust that you may put into us, today's video, as with all of the videos, is for information only and should not replace the expert opinion of any healthcare professional that cares for you and will be more familiar with your specific conditions than what we have here. We hope that you find our content and all of the information that we provide on this channel useful and something that guides you to make great health decisions. But you should always consult with your healthcare team before making any decisions about your healthcare routine. So, as you can see on the board, we have some information here for you on why, before we even talk about anything else with labs, why it's important for us to pay attention to what's going on, not just with your basic lipid panel, which again, you can find the video for in the description below, but also to take a look at some of the things that we're going to see today with the advanced lipid panel. We're going to start off with a cross section with this incredible artist drawing, which, in case you couldn't tell, I drew it, of a cross section of an artery. And you can see, starting off from the left-hand side, that the artery is healthy. And this is how our arteries should look. In fact, most of these major vessels, again, that lead to and from our heart, we should want them to be clean and normal, meaning that there's no signs of blockages or buildup, or, as we've come to importantly find out, inflammation. We've heard a lot about it in the last several years, that conditions that have inflammation associated with them or things that have the potential to cause inflammation were a really big concern throughout the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we found through research over the course of many, many years, inflammation plays a critical role in what happens with our cardiovascular system, or our heart, and all of the associated structures that go with it, and our risk factors for developing any sorts of blockages or other concerns that can lead to a heart attack and or a stroke. So if we're taking a look here at what's happening to our artery, as we make certain decisions with our lifestyle, whether it's things that we are eating, things like consuming alcohol or smoking, all of these things can be contributing factors to the initiation of early disease, which you can see here is marked by inflammation. And we begin to see some changes happening in those early stages during that early disease inflammation, where the structure of that vessel begins to get thicker and blocked up by the formation of plaques and other substances that change the way that normally smooth and clean inside of your artery looks. If you don't make changes, either because you know that you have a personal risk factor for cardiovascular disease, you've got extensive family history, any of those types of things. At this point in early disease, there could be things that prompt you as an individual to make changes to be able to catch all of this before it gets worse. If you do not, then we progress on to advancing disease. And at this point, we will mark this, if we were to be able to look inside of the vessel itself, by the start off of the formation of plaque. And so that plaque is going to be a collection of all of these different fats and things that we are putting into our bodies. And then our bodies, in turn, again, in our liver, convert into substances that become part of our cholesterol. And eventually, because of our diet dietary practices, not exercising, again, things like smoking and alcohol consumption, and those personal risk factors that you have because of genetics from your family, that plaque starts to build up in those surrounding structures of your heart. And this is where we begin to see that very early but advancing disease. Again, if at this point you don't make changes, then we continue on with even more advanced disease. And at this point, we're going to see the buildup of what we refer to as calcifications within the heart. When you have certain evaluations done, especially if you see a cardiologist, when they talk about blockages that are in your heart, they're referring to these calcifications, which again is an even more advanced component to that buildup, that plaque that's forming in your heart and the surrounding vessels. As that continues on, again, if you don't make any changes, then we can see the advancing of the disease even further to where we've got additional plaque buildup. And we can also see that as that plaque gets thicker, as you can see here from the orangey substance that's continuing to grow and build up in your artery, then you can get essentially from there the rupturing, which is the destabilization of that plaque and the release of some of those substances into your bloodstream, and that can travel into other areas of your body. This is a very concerning component to the disease process, and this is the area that we want to try to prevent. And unfortunately, we too often see a lot of people that make it to this phase of the disease process when we're talking about ASCVD. The last phase, which is basically the most advanced component to the disease state, is for it to be now completely or extremely blocked or occluded. And essentially at that point, we can see the buildup of blood clots in that area. And this is where you are particularly vulnerable for a heart attack or a stroke. You can see here that with each one of those little areas, we've got certain markers that we take a look at. In the case of advanced disease, troponins are not something we typically look at on your lipid panel. That unfortunately is what, if you've ever gone to the emergency room for chest pain, that is a laboratory marker that we in the healthcare community look at when we're concerned that you could be at risk of a heart attack. We'll save that one for a different video. But along the way, as we're taking a look at that progression of the disease in your vessels, we will see different substances that are aligned with these different phases of progression towards having that blockage basically building up within your vessel. Now, where the basic lipid panel is concerned, it does provide us some information about your general health. However, the problem is that as all of that progression is taking place within your vessels around your heart, your basic lipid panel may not necessarily give us an indication of what is happening there. We've come to find that particularly the bad cholesterol, or the LDL, in and of itself is just a measure of the amount of that cholesterol that may be found within a particular particle or collection of particles within your bloodstream. The amount of the lipid particles in and of themselves within your body, the rate or the extent of the inflammation that's going on around your blood vessels and your heart in general, the basic lipid panel doesn't give us that sort of information. And so through additional years of study, scientists and healthcare researchers have begun to find those things that have helped us be able to identify even better than your basic lipid panel, you as an individual's risk of developing heart disease and the potential for you having a heart attack or a stroke. So that's today's video. Remember to join us for the remainder of the videos that are part of this Advanced Lipid Panel series, and look out for the comprehensive video that has all of the information all together in one. We hope that you enjoyed today's content, and we look forward to seeing you here again soon on Lotus Health Education and Wellness, Empowerment through Health Enlightenment. Take care.